Have you ever found yourself feeling, completely swamped by the relentless pressures of everyday life?
Oh, absolutely. It's something I think everyone can relate to.
Yeah, maybe you've wrestled with a nagging lack of confidence, feeling sort of stuck in a rut, or perhaps you're simply longing for, I don't know, a deeper sense of peace and purpose amidst all the chaos that seems to swirl around us.
It really does feel like chaos sometimes.
It's a universal human experience, isn't it? But what if there was, like a timeless blueprint, a collection of profoundly practical techniques designed not just to help you cope with these challenges, but to truly thrive and unlock a life brimming with joy, energy, and profound satisfaction?
That's a powerful question, and it points directly, really, to the heart of our mission today. In the deep dive, we're embarking on an extraordinary journey into the insights of Norman Vincent Peale's immensely influential work, The Power of Positive Thinking.
Right. The book.
Exactly. And this isn't presented as just another book to be passively read. Peale frames it as a dynamic, practical guide to what he calls applied Christianity.
Applied Christianity. What does he really mean by that?
Well, he wasn't talking about abstract theology necessarily, but about harnessing the core principles of faith and spiritual wisdom as concrete tools for everyday living, for overcoming obstacles and finding true peace.
Okay, so practical tools.
Yes, practical tools. It's a manual designed to empower you to move beyond defeat and truly achieve what he terms a victorious existence.
The victorious existence. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So our goal for you in this deep dive is basically to unearth the most potent, actionable nuggets of wisdom and maybe some surprising insights from these pages.
Absolutely. We'll show you how Peele's principles, and he backs them up with some truly compelling real-life examples, promise remarkable improvements across so many facets of your life.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like your peace of mind, your physical health, your energy levels, definitely your relationships, and just your overall happiness.
Think of this then as your shortcut to understanding how you can genuinely take control of your circumstances, rather than constantly feeling like you're being dictated by them.
Exactly. Taking control, not being controlled. So let's unpack the absolute foundational idea right at the beginning. Building unshakable self-belief and cultivating the deeply positive mindset.
The foundation. Where do we start?
Peele states it simply, but it has profound impact. He asserts, without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy.
Humble but reasonable confidence.
Yes, that balance is key. This self-confidence, in his view, isn't arrogance. It's the absolute bedrock upon which everything else is built, your potential, your peace, your ability to actually do things.
That truly is a fundamental idea.
Mm.
But if self-confidence is the bedrock, what happens when we're tormented by inferiority feelings, as Peele describes it? It seems to be a surprisingly universal struggle, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, incredibly common. He highlights how these feelings often take root way back in childhood, maybe stemming from subtle comparisons or those negative labels that, once they're attached, can stick with us for years.
Like name-calling or just being told you're not good enough at something?
Precisely. For instance, he shares this poignant anecdote of the preacher's son who, despite his upbringing, found himself rebelling against the expectations constantly placed upon him, simply because he was perpetually reminded of his supposed role.
Rebelling against the label itself.
Exactly. It really underlines how these early experiences can profoundly shape our deepest self-perceptions, sometimes without us even realizing it fully.
Absolutely. And it leads to a very common misconception that Peele actively challenges.
Uh-huh.
This idea that something like academic grades, say, achieving A's versus C's, somehow predetermines our potential for life.
Right, the whole grades define you thing.
Yeah, he directly refutes this, pointing out that real-world success isn't always, or even primarily, tied to scholastic achievement. He observes that some of the greatest successes he encountered outside of academia were individuals who didn't necessarily get top grades.
It's often the case, isn't it?
He suggests the person who might have gotten C's in school might go on to achieve the real A's in life. The insight here is that true potential often lies beyond those conventional metrics, just waiting to be unleashed.
Which brings us to what Peele identifies as the ultimate remedy for this deep-seated self-doubt. He states it unequivocally. The greatest secret for eliminating the inferiority complex is to fill your mind to overflowing with faith.
Faith. Right.
And more specifically, he emphasizes a tremendous faith in what he calls God, a concept he sees as the ultimate source of power and affirmation. This deep spiritual connection, in turn, leads to a soundly realistic faith in yourself.
Soundly realistic. So again, not arrogance.
No, not about an inflated ego, but a grounded, humble belief in your own God-given capacity and potential.
And this isn't just theoretical advice, is it? He gives practical tools.
No, definitely not just theory. Peele provides a powerful practical affirmation that brings this to life. He recounts the story of a man dejected and feeling completely sunk by inferiority and lack of confidence at the age of 40, just totally beaten down.
Okay, I can picture that.
Peele gave him a simple yet profound formula. Repeat the words from Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me.
A specific Bible verse.
Yes. The man, apparently unfamiliar with the verse, wrote it on a card and repeated it as instructed. And Peele reports he felt an immediate surge of strength, like right away, and saw a clear path toward a permanent solution for his core problem.
Wow, immediate.
That's what Peele claims. It's a powerful testament to the immediate impact of changing your internal dialogue through faith.
That's a remarkable transformation. It almost sounds, well, too simple to be true, doesn't it? Especially for such deep-seated issues like inferiority. How does Peele address that potential skepticism?
That's a fair question. He emphasizes that these aren't necessarily one-time magic fixes, but require consistent practice. It's about building a new mental habit.
Okay, practice.
He shares another compelling example, an executive's young assistant. This young man had such deep-seated inferiority feelings that he became unreliable, especially with confidential information.
Which is a big problem in business.
Huge problem. The executive, understanding the root cause wasn't malice but fear, helped the young man gain self-knowledge. But Peele stresses it was together with a sincere practicing of the techniques of faith and prayer that his real powers were released.
So, self-awareness plus spiritual practice.
Exactly. This sustained effort transformed him into a valuable asset. The underlying issue wasn't a lack of ability, but that mental block caused by his own self-doubt, which persistent application of faith helped dissolve.
So with that foundational understanding of self-belief in place, Peele then takes us a step further into a concept that truly transforms potential into reality. Expect the best and get it, which he explores in Chapter 7.
Right. This is a big one.
And this isn't just wishful thinking, is it? It's about actively shaping your future. It aligns perfectly with Dr. Carl Menninger's profound statement, attitudes are more important than facts.
That's such a powerful quote.
It really is. Peele really unpacks how our habitual thoughts directly shape our feelings and ultimately our outcomes. If you consistently think defeat, you're bound to feel defeated, right?
Makes sense.
But conversely, confident thoughts build capacity and lead to positive results. Your thoughts, he insists, are essentially the blueprints of your reality.
And to truly illustrate how our attitude shapes outcomes, Peele shares this captivating story from the world of baseball that really drives this point home.
Oh, I remember this one. The baseball team.
Yeah, Josh O'Reilly's San Antonio club. Despite having a roster of incredibly talented players, they inexplicably fell into this deep slump. Just couldn't win.
Why? What was going on?
Peele reveals the reason. They simply didn't expect to win. Their collective mindset was steeped in defeat. It was inhibiting their play, freezing their muscles, throwing off their timing. They were beaten before they even stepped on the field.
That's fascinating. So what changed? How did they turn it around?
Then came what Peele calls the Schlater bat phenomenon. A local preacher, known for his deep faith, apparently blessed the team's bats.
Blessed the bats. Like literally.
Yeah, well, yes. Now, let's be clear. Peele is careful to point out. The bats themselves were physically unchanged. Same wood, same weight.
Okay.
But the players, believing in this blessing, experienced a dramatic shift in their mindset. Their doubt was replaced by an unwavering expectation of victory.
Ah, the belief was the key.
Precisely. The result. An astonishing winning streak. They hammered their way to a championship. Peele makes it abundantly clear. The real power wasn't in the wood of the bats, but in the players' minds, in their newfound expectation of victory.
It's a vivid illustration of how belief can unlock seemingly impossible potential.
It really is. That truly highlights the power of internal transformation. This then leads to what Peele calls the throw your heart over the bar principle.
I love that phrase. It's such a wondrously vivid analogy.
Isn't it? He suggests that you visualize success, affirm your belief, and literally throw your spiritual essence, your deepest intention and belief over the obstacle.
Like committing fully before you even start the physical action.
Yeah, exactly. Once your heart is over that bar, committed to the outcome, your material self will follow in the victory groove. It's about total spiritual commitment to your desired outcome, making the physical manifestation almost inevitable.
He provides a memorable anecdote to cement this idea, doesn't he? About a young woman.
Yes, the young woman who was rather blunt, critical, and really struggling to find a partner. She came to Peel, quite exasperated, demanding to know why she couldn't get married.
And Peel was pretty direct with her, wasn't he?
Oh, famously so. He advised her, with his signature directness, to cultivate inner and outer attractiveness, to visualize her desired marriage, and to embrace the idea that God runs a beauty parlor.
God runs a beauty parlor. That's a powerful metaphor.
It is a metaphor for spiritual transformation, making one more beautiful from the inside out. By applying this advice, she genuinely transformed her attitude, softened her demeanor, and years later, Peel encountered her again, married and happy. A living testament to the power of a changed mindset and a confident expectation.
And it's particularly insightful when he highlights the necessity of clear objectives. He points out the pervasive pitfall of aimless thinking.
Right, just sort of drifting.
Yeah, drifting. He uses the anecdote of a 26-year-old man dissatisfied with his job, but completely without a clear objective. Peel's blunt observation: no objective leads to no end.
Ouch. But true.
It's a powerful, almost unsettling reminder that if you don't know where you're going, you'll likely end up nowhere of consequence. You need to organize your ideas to define what the best truly means for you before you can expect to get it.
Indeed. And once you have that clear objective, Peel delves into the magnetizing power of positive thought. He quotes an editor's daily affirmation.
Oh yeah, what was that again?
A man who is self-reliant, positive, optimistic, and undertakes his work with the assurance of success magnetizes his condition. He draws to himself the creative powers of the universe.
Magnetizes his condition.
Wow! It suggests that your mental state isn't just an internal phenomenon. It's an active force, a kind of energetic beacon, shaping your external reality by attracting what you most believe and expect.
He perfectly illustrates this with the story of a vacuum cleaner saleswoman, doesn't he?
He does. She started out expecting failure, convinced she knew she would fail, and her sales performance was predictably dismal.
Classic self-fulfilling prophecy.
Totally. But when she consciously changed her internal dialogue, personalizing the verse, "If God be for me, who can be against me?" from Romans 8.31, a statement of profound spiritual backing her sales dramatically improved.
Just by changing her internal script.
That's the story. It was her expectation that shifted from anticipated defeat to confident success, leading to a tangible, remarkable change in her results.
Building on the idea of expectation, Peel then pushes us even further in Chapter 8, challenging us to adopt an even more assertive stance. I don't believe in defeat.
That's a bold statement.
It is. And this isn't about ignoring challenges. It's about actively rejecting the very concept of failure as a permanent state. It's about cultivating a profound, resilient conviction that defeat is not an option for you, given the inner strength you can access.
He shares that striking story of the obstacle man, remember him? A person who habitually fixated on every possible problem and hazard in any new project, effectively talking himself into inaction.
Yeah, paralysis by analysis, basically.
Kind of. His wise colleague, however, had a fundamentally different perspective. When asked his attitude toward obstacles, the colleague simply retorted, "Why, I would just remove them, that's all, and then I would forget them."
Just like that.
Just like that. And then he pulled out his wallet, which contained the affirmation from Philippians 4.33. "I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me." This simple yet profound conviction proved to the obstacle man the undeniable power of a positive mindset in overcoming what had previously seemed like insurmountable barriers.
It's about a deeply ingrained mental attitude, a refusal to be defined by difficulty.
Exactly. Another inspiring example Peel shares is Amos Parrish, who became a highly successful business guru. Now, Parrish had a sickly childhood and a severe stutter.
So he faced real challenges.
Absolutely. But he had a profound spiritual experience that ignited an unwavering faith. This faith allowed him to achieve remarkable success in his career. What makes his story particularly impactful is that he continued to struggle with his stutter throughout his life.
He didn't magically overcome it.
No, yet his unwavering positive thinking allowed him to transmit courage and belief to the thousands of businessmen and women who attended his sessions. His personal battle and transparent resilience made his message all the more authentic and powerful.
This also touches on what Peel calls eliminating little negatives. Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. He argues that seemingly small negative thoughts and words, like reflexively saying, I knew it was going to rain, the moment you see clouds, as if you're expecting the worst.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
We all do it. But these accumulate into what he terms big negatives, effectively cluttering and slowing down our mental engine. Much like a car engine needs to be cleaned to deliver full power, our minds need to be flushed out of these negatives to operate effectively.
So clean the mental engine.
Right, the insight. Consciously flushing out these little negatives is crucial for peak mental performance. It's about purifying our thought patterns, one small negative at a time.
He provides a vivid illustration of this from golf, doesn't he? A personal experience.
Yes, Peele himself was struggling with a shot from the rough. His golf instructor offered a powerful piece of wisdom. The rough is only mental.
Only mental, but the grass is real.
Of course the grass is real, but the perceived difficulty wasn't inherent in the tall grass itself, but in Peele's mind, his expectation of failure. Believing in God-given power, the instructor explained, can help you cut through that grass almost like a knife, allowing for a clean shot.
Oh yeah, okay. It's a potent metaphor for life's perceived difficulties, reminding us that many obstacles are primarily mental constructs.
Exactly. So, what does this all mean for daily application? It echoes Thomas Jefferson's timeless wisdom, which Peele highlights as a priceless rule. Always take hold of things by the smooth handle.
The smooth handle.
Yeah, it's about approaching problems from the easiest, most optimistic, and least resistant angle, rather than instinctively grasping the thorny, difficult side. It's a strategic approach to maintaining a positive outlook and conserving your mental energy.
And this positive outlook can yield astonishing academic results, as seen in the story of the 70-grade boy.
Right. This student, despite studying diligently, would mentally freeze under pressure during exams. Just blank out.
Test anxiety, basically.
Exactly. Peele advised him to pause before studying and pray, affirming aloud, Lord, I know I have a good mind and that I can get my work. He was also told to visualize success, picturing himself easily understanding the material and believing he could get it on the first reading.
Visualization again.
Yes. This simple shift in mental approach, from anxiety to confident expectation, transformed his grades from 70s to 90s. It really demonstrates that the perception of ability is as crucial as the ability itself.
That's a truly impactful story. It shows how deeply intertwined our beliefs are with our performance. Another practical strategy Peele shares is the wire basket method.
Ah, yes, the wire basket. This businessman, who consistently struggled with inflating small difficulties into insurmountable obstacles, devised this unique ritual.
What did he do?
Whenever a problem arose that his old, defeatist mechanism wanted to magnify, he would write it down and literally throw the paper into a wire basket on his desk, meticulously labeled, "With God, all things are possible."
Okay, so a physical act.
A physical, symbolic act. He would then leave it there for a day or two, and when he retrieved the paper, he reported that each matter didn't seem difficult at all. This dramatized act of symbolically putting his problems into God's hands allowed him to approach them normally and successfully, rather than being overwhelmed by self-created anxiety. It's a powerful psychological release.
Moving beyond conquering self-doubt and defeat, let's now turn to cultivating inner peace and sustained energy. This is so vital in our fast-paced, often noisy world.
Absolutely critical. Peele dedicates an entire chapter to the quest for peace, vividly describing modern life's accelerated tempo, which often leaves us, as he puts it, with an ear full of trouble.
An ear full of trouble. Yeah, I get that. The constant stream of news, the endless notifications, the hum of the city.
The sheer volume of information, it all contributes to a pervasive lack of inner quiet.
It's a stark contrast to another individual. Peele describes who discovered a powerful antidote.
Right. Instead of going to bed with an earful of trouble from the day's anxieties or news, he would consistently read the 23rd Psalm.
The Lord is my shepherd.
That one. He reported sleeping better, consistently going to sleep with a mind full of peace. This highlights the profound impact of what we consciously choose to feed our minds, especially in those quiet moments before rest, choosing tranquil inputs over chaotic ones.
What's truly fascinating here is the story of a troubled, highly influential man who found peace through what Peele calls telephone therapy.
Telephone therapy, tell me more.
This man called Peele late at night, expressing deep despair and simply asking to pray. Peele prayed with him over the phone, gently encouraging him to pour out his heart.
Just let it all out.
Exactly. The man, sobbing, literally released a mind full of hate, frustration, and failure. After the prayer, he reported feeling clean inside and happy and peaceful. It's a vivid illustration of how emptying the mind of negativity and being receptive to divine influence can bring immediate and profound relief.
And this idea of mental input is so crucial. Peel shares the anecdote of a physician who, seeing the spiritual root of many physical complaints, actually prescribed Bible verses.
Prescribe Bible verses, seriously.
Yes, specifically Romans 12.2, which speaks of being transformed by the renewing of your mind. He gave this to patients whose only real ailment was a mind riddled with negative thoughts.
Wow.
The physician believed that spiritual science could truly transform thinking, much like a physical medication. It underlines the profound interconnectedness of our mental, spiritual, and physical health.
Peel himself offered a powerful visualization technique for dropping worries overboard.
Oh, I like the sound of that.
While on a voyage to Honolulu, he suggested that people imaginatively take their anxious thoughts, go to the stern of the ship, mentally drop them overboard, and then watch them disappear completely in the ship's wake.
Like literally watching them float away.
Exactly. It sounds wondrously simple, almost childlike, yet one man reported amazing relief from doing this daily, consciously developing the psychology of casting worries out of his consciousness. It's a deliberate symbolic act that trains the mind to let go.
This brings us to the profound therapeutic value of words and silence. Peel emphasizes that consciously speaking, peaceful, quieting words to oneself and others actively influences the mind.
Words have power.
They really do. The words of the Bible in particular, he says, possess particularly strong therapeutic value and can spread a healing balm when allowed to dissolve in consciousness. He then contrasts this with the healing power of silence itself.
Something we don't get much of these days.
Sadly, no. A practice so often lost to the incessant noise of modern life. He laments that even city folk brought nervous, high-strung music of the jitterbug variety into nature rather than simply listening to the quiet wisdom of the woods.
And if true silence is hard to find in your daily life, Peel offers a beautiful, accessible alternative, using memory as a retreat.
How does that work?
He suggests actively recalling pictures of the most beautiful experiences of your life, perhaps the tranquil Royal Hawaiian Hotel he experienced, or even cherished childhood memories evoked by a familiar dining room mural.
Like creating a mental happy place.
Exactly. The mind, he explains, tends to reproduce only the beauty in these remembered scenes, creating a mental sanctuary you can revisit and derive calm from, anytime, anywhere.
Finally, in this quest for inner peace, Peel addresses the deeply corrosive impact of unaddressed guilt. He explains how it relentlessly leads to constant apprehension and overwork, sometimes even causing nervous breakdown.
Guilt is heavy.
Extremely. Peel emphasizes with great conviction that sincere divine and self-forgiveness is the only true lasting cure for this deep-seated source of unrest. It's about releasing that heavy, self-imposed burden.
Shifting now from peace to energy, Peel makes it abundantly clear in How to Have Constant Energy that there's a direct, undeniable mind-body connection to our vitality.
Right, they're totally linked.
He uses the striking example of a basketball player who gained a rapid renewal of strength simply by passing a powerful energy-producing thought through his mind. How we think we feel directly impacts how we actually feel physically.
It's a profound link that we often overlook, isn't it?
Definitely. This ties into a profound concept that Peel frequently returns to, tapping into a boundless reservoir of power through spiritual contact.
A boundless reservoir.
Yes. He cites Isaiah 40.29. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increaseth strength. And Acts 17.28, which states, In him we live and move and have our being. He passionately suggests that consistent contact with what he calls God establishes a continuous flow of energy that can constantly re-energize us.
Preventing burnout and sustained fatigue.
Exactly. And that, he explains, is precisely why emotional self-mastery is so crucial to preventing what he terms energy leaks.
Energy leaks, what are those?
Peel highlights that fear, resentment, inner conflicts, and obsessions throw us off balance and cause undue expenditure of natural force, leading to profound fatigue.
Yeah.
It's not just hard work that drains us.
It's the emotional turmoil.
Right. Our uncontrolled emotional upheavals and negative mental states, they are literally draining our life force.
He points to the legendary inventor Thomas Edison as a prime example of this principle in action. Edison, a prodigy of work, notorious for his long hours.
Slept very little, supposedly.
Right. But he drew his seemingly inexhaustible energy from emotional self-mastery and a remarkable ability to relax completely, falling into deep and untroubled slumber even for short periods.
So his secret wasn't just less sleep. It was better quality rest and emotional control.
Precisely. The mastery of his internal state allowed for true rest and renewal that fueled his extraordinary productivity.
So what did this all mean for our daily pace? It means striving to live in what Peale terms God's rhythm.
God's rhythm. Explain that.
He suggests that our energies are constantly being destroyed by the high tempo, the abnormal, frantic pace at which so many of us live. Conserving energy, he explains, depends on consciously getting your personality speed synchronized with the rate of God's movement.
Aligning with a natural flow.
Yes, there's a natural, harmonious rhythm to everything in the universe, and aligning ourselves with it helps us conserve vitality and operate more efficiently.
And a key to this alignment, Peale insists, is the power of conviction. He states, the surest way not to become tired is to lose yourself in something in which you have a profound conviction.
When you're passionate, you don't feel tired.
Exactly. He contrasts this with stewing around about a lot of inconsequential things, which is precisely what drains our energy and leads to exhaustion. When you are deeply committed, passionately invested, energy flows naturally, almost effortlessly.
He even brings in an observation from a football coach who candidly admitted that hate blocks his energy and prevented peak performance from his players.
Hate blocking energy. Interesting.
Yeah, this coach insisted his team cultivate genuinely friendly feelings for fellow players, recognizing that internal emotional conflicts directly impede both physical energy and overall effectiveness on the field.
Even in a competitive sport.
Right. It's a powerful insight into the hidden costs of negative emotions.
Perhaps one of the most vivid stories illustrating profound renewal is that of the burned-out professor.
Oh yeah, the one who went to the cabin.
That's the one. Given a 6-month leave, he retreated to a wilderness cabin with only a Bible. There, he embarked on this deliberate regimen of chopping wood, digging in the soil, reading the Bible, and fishing.
Getting back to basics, physically and spiritually.
Completely. This profound physical and spiritual immersion, this simple yet disciplined routine, led to a complete renewal of his zest for living, transforming him from a depleted academic into a vibrant, re-energized man.
Building on that, let's explore Peale's direct advice in Stop Fuming and Fretting from Chapter 6. He breaks down the very dictionary meanings of these words.
Fuming and fretting. They sound unpleasant just saying them.
They do. He paints a clear and uncomfortable picture. Fume means to boil up, to be agitated, often with suppressed anger. Fret is reminiscent of a sick child in the night, a petulant whine, a constant state of irritation.
Neither sounds productive.
Not at all. Both describe agitated, irritated, and often childish emotional reactions that don't solve anything but consume vast amounts of our precious energy.
He urgently emphasizes the need to reduce your pace. Modern life speed, he argues, isn't just stressing us out, it's literally destroying our physical bodies and tearing our minds and souls to shreds.
Creating toxic poisons, he calls them.
Yes, causing toxic poisons and emotional illness. Even if we are physically quiet, our minds can maintain a high tempo of anxiety and agitation that depletes us from the inside out.
I just love this next observation he shares. An old lady reflecting on life's incessant pressures simply remarked with profound wisdom, "Life is so daily."
Huh. Life is so daily. That's brilliant.
Isn't it? It's humorous, yet it powerfully highlights the persistent, insistent, and continuous demands that provoke pressure and tension every single day. It's those daily continuous pulls that can subtly, yet profoundly, wear us down over time.
So Peale offers an extreme but remarkably effective antidote he calls the cemetery prescription.
The cemetery prescription, that
Yeah.
sounds morbid.
It does, but hear it out. He famously advised an overly stressed, seemingly indispensable executive to spend half a day a week in a cemetery.
Why on earth?
The profound purpose: to meditate on mortality and the world's continuation without him, thereby dramatically reducing his exaggerated sense of overwhelming responsibility.
Gaining perspective.
Exactly. The powerful realization. If the world can go on perfectly fine without all those individuals in the cemetery, it can certainly go on if he takes a break and lightens his burden.
He also shares a delightful story of a high-strung man who adopted a bird's morning ritual.
A bird's ritual.
Yeah. Unable to sleep, this man observed a bird's slow, easy awakening. Stretching, taking little naps, and then, crucially, singing.
Singing.
The man, despite not considering himself a singer, practiced this routine himself, finding that the singing, this deliberate act of releasing joy, was a powerful releasing mechanism for his tension, helping him start his day calmer.
Peale even recounts his own declaration of independence from frantic rushing. He describes stopping himself mid-rush, returning to his hotel room, reading Psalm 121.
"I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills."
That's the one. And simply practicing quietness. This simple, deliberate act, he reports, led to an immediate sense of peace and personal mastery, demonstrating that we can deliberately choose to disengage from the frantic external pace.
And sometimes the physical can directly influence the mental. He recalls a fascinating incident during a particularly bitter committee meeting.
Oh, what happened?
One man, observing Kemper's fraying and the atmosphere becoming toxic, deliberately took off his coat, opened his collar, and simply lay down on a couch.
In the middle of the meeting.
Right there. This physical attitude, a deliberate act of relaxation in a tense environment, was intended to induce desired mental calmness and help the fuming and fretting subside. It shows how our physical state can impact our emotional one.
Let's delve even deeper into the art of sustained ease with Relax for Easy Power, integrating insights from Chapter 13 as well. Peel opens with startling statistics on the American sleep crisis.
Sleeping pills.
Millions consumed daily. He points out that Americans have largely lost the art of sleeping because they are constantly keyed up and nervous. This pervasive societal tension manifests not just in insomnia, but in constant headaches, too. Billions of headaches annually.
What's truly revolutionary is the integrated therapy approach Peel describes at the Marble Collegiate Church, where he served as pastor.
Integrated therapy.
Yeah, here, psychiatrists diagnose why human nature acts a certain way, identifying issues like inferiority, fear, or resentment. Then, pastors teach how to apply spiritual therapies like prayer, faith, and love.
So science and spirituality working together.
Exactly. A unique, powerful collaboration helping people find new life and happiness. A truly holistic model.
This approach embodies the easy does it principle. Peel brilliantly references Branch Rickey's baseball philosophy: overpressing hinders performance.
We're trying too hard.
Right. Just as a baseball player trying too hard to kill the ball will likely strike out or hit weakly, overstraining in life prevents easy power. Ty Cobb, the legendary batter, was a master of easy power, rhythmic, relaxed, allowing maximum results with minimum apparent effort.
And this applies beyond sports.
Peel argues it applies to every area of life, from business to relationships.
And how do people achieve this easy power in their daily lives? He shares the secret of an efficient businessman.
What was his secret?
He maintained his serene, productive demeanor through a consistent daily period of quietness with his wife, reading inspirational passages together. This regular practice helped him keep himself in tune with God, ensuring a continuous flow of relaxed, effortless energy.
Constant, subtle calibration.
There's also the charming anecdote from Florida, where a friend taught Peel the greatest of the arts, sitting in the sun.
Just sitting.
Well, not just lazy sitting. It was about purposeful relaxation combined with quiet, conscious thinking about God and life, a tranquil time of reflection that paradoxically led to increased efficiency and deeper enjoyment, transforming idleness into active contemplation.
This disciplined relaxation is vital for everyone, even in high-stakes environments. He describes Captain Eddie Rickenbacker's incredible serenity.
The famous pilot.
Yes. Despite filming delays and frustrations, the busy captain remained unagitated by consciously collapsing physically like a jellyfish or a burlap bag of potatoes, affirming God's presence and experiencing easy power flowing.
That's a powerful visualization for letting go.
What's truly fascinating is Peel's concept of micro-relaxation in daily life. He shares the story of a minister who ingeniously used traffic jams, those common sources of frustration, as brief interludes of complete relaxation.
Relaxing in traffic.
He even managed to doze for a minute or two to renew his energy. The key, Peel emphasizes, is that it isn't length of relaxation time that produces power, it is the quality of the experience. Even a minute of conscious relaxation can be transformative.
And for managing high-pressure social or professional situations, Peel shares the formula of a congressman facing a noisy crowd.
What did he do?
The congressman employed specific techniques. Breathe deeply, talk quietly, speak sincerely, be friendly and respectful, hold my temper, and trust in God. His condensed formula: be relaxed, keep calm, take a friendly attitude, have faith, do your best.
A holistic, practical approach.
Peel visually illustrates working hard with easy power through the example of a workman shoveling sand. The workman moved with a beautiful sight of rhythmic, easy does it. Power, not frantic, but consistent and efficient.
Like a flow state.
Exactly. This embodies the flow of energy through the individual from God and back, suggesting that when we align with this natural rhythm, even hard work can feel invigorating.
This section culminates in 10 practical rules for cultivating easy power. Can you list a few key ones?
Yeah. Some crucial practices include avoiding the Atlas carrying the world mentality, refusing to rush, practicing quietness regularly, taking brief cat naps, consciously emptying your mind, practicing spiritual breathing, inhaling peace, exhaling worries, and continually putting things in God's hands.
Lightening your own burden. It's a comprehensive guide.
Moving from personal mastery, let's explore how to harness spiritual power for life's inevitable challenges, starting with try prayer power from Chapter 4.
Prayer power. Okay.
Peel boldly reframes prayer not just as a religious ritual, but as a simple yet scientific system of practical techniques of successful living that works.
Scientific. That's an interesting word choice.
It is. He positions it as a practical tool, emphasizing its results and efficacy rather than just its devotional aspect.
You see this results-oriented attitude perfectly captured in an unexpected place. Jack Smith's Health Club, where a sign proclaimed a rather cryptic acronym, APRPWPRAA.
What on earth does that stand for?
It stood for Affirmative Prayers Release Powers by which positive results are accomplished.
In a health club.
Right. It demonstrates a practical view of prayer as a tangible tool for releasing personal power and achieving desired outcomes.
Peel goes so far as to call the Bible a textbook of spiritual science. He explains that biblical formulas for prayer, like Matthew 18 or Mark 11.
Yeah, those passages about agreement or asking and receiving.
He presents them not as abstract theology, but as precise laws that, when properly applied, yield tangible results.
Right.
Like a spiritual algorithm almost.
He shares a wonderful example of a creative businessman who literally filled the little hole in the wall with optimistic prayers and thoughts alongside diligent hard work and fair dealing.
So prayer plus action.
Definitely. This unique blend led to a very successful operation, showing prayer isn't a substitute for effort, but a powerful complement.
One of the key techniques Peel introduces is picturizing your desires.
Picturizing, like visualization.
Very similar. It means vividly visualizing your desired outcome, consciously printing a picture of it on your mind as happening, and holding that image firmly. While doing so, you surrender to God's will and work intelligently towards it.
Vision plus faith plus effort.
He provides a truly compelling example of this. A woman whose husband abruptly requested a divorce. Instead of panicking, she calmly agreed to a 90-day deferral.
Okay. What does she do then?
Night after night, she meticulously visualized him in his old chair doing familiar activities and held a firm mental image of their marriage's restoration. This unwavering mental image, combined with persistent faith, led to her husband's profound change of heart.
Wow. The power of focused intention.
Prayer, Peel suggests, can also be a powerful stimulus for creative ideas. He describes how prayer sessions, even in a business context, can become idea-tapping sessions,
Idea tapping.
where diverse thoughts are welcomed without criticism, fostering an environment where innovative solutions seemingly emerge from a deeper source. Spiritual connection fueling practical creativity.
And then there's Frank Laubach's fascinating technique of flash prayers.
Flash prayers, like quick ones.
Yeah, he would shoot quick, silent prayers of goodwill and love at passersby, a gloomy man on a bus, an overbearing man in a train car. And he observed, remarkably, an emanation of a power like electrical energy that could visibly change moods.
Really? Like he could feel it.
That's what he reported. It suggests prayer isn't just internal, but an active sending and receiving station for spiritual energy that can influence others.
Peel even recounts a striking anecdote of remote prayer. He had a strong impression that an alcoholic friend was in trouble and immediately began praying fervently. Days later, he received confirmation that a crisis had indeed occurred at that exact time. It highlights the mysterious reach of prayer.
The transformative power of affirmation is beautifully illustrated by a letter Peel received from a woman. Her home was filled with contention, bickering, worry, and unhappiness, just constant negativity.
Sounds exhausting.
Totally. But by affirming aloud, every day is a good day if you pray, and listing gratitudes upon waking, she systematically transformed her household.
What happened?
Her husband got a job and quit drinking, and her mother-in-law stopped complaining. A testament to how personal daily practice can shift an entire family dynamic.
Peel then summarizes 10 suggestions for effective prayer. What are some key ones?
Well, being willing to accept what God gives, practicing putting everything into God's hands, actively praying for those you dislike.
Praying for people you dislike. That's tough.
He argues resentment blocks spiritual power. Also, making a specific list for prayer, emphasizing prayer for others, often brings benefits back to you.
Now let's tackle one of the most pervasive challenges. How to break the worry habit, in Chapter 9. Peale calls worry the great modern plague.
A plague. Strong words.
He cites numerous psychiatrists and physicians linking it directly to serious physical ailments like arthritis, high blood pressure, heart disease, ulcers. He even highlights the root of worry means to choke.
It literally constricts life.
A critical technique Peale recommends is practicing emptying the mind daily, ideally before bed,
How do you do that?
by vividly visualizing worry thoughts, flowing out as you would let water flow from a basin, coupled with positive affirmations that your mind is being cleansed, and active mental clearing out.
He then introduces a fascinating concept he calls imagineering for release. Imagination, often the source of our fears.
Imagining the worst-case scenario.
Right. It can also be its cure. Imagineering is forming clear, vivid mental images of being delivered from worry, seeing yourself free, calm, capable. By holding this positive image, it can become reality.
The central truth, Peale proclaims, is simple yet powerful. Master faith and you will automatically master fear.
Faith over fear.
He contrasts Job's famous line, "For the thing which I greatly feared has come upon me," with the implied truth that that which I have greatly believed has come upon me. Our dominant thoughts tend to actualize.
So what's a practical strategy to begin dismantling this pervasive worry? Peale suggests an adroit plan to snip off little worries.
Let's them off.
Yeah, adjust the outer fortifications first. Consciously reduce worry words in conversation. Treat each little irritation as a separate object of prayer. By weakening these, you undermine the vast tree of worry.
A humorous yet insightful anti-worry method comes from the artist Howard Chandler Christie. He said he tried worrying once, but couldn't make heads nor tails of it.
What was his secret?
Every morning, I spend 15 minutes filling my mind full of God. He believed only that comes out of the mind which originally you put into the mind. Fill it with peace, no room for worry.
This echoes the businessman's wastebasket ritual again, throwing problems labeled, "With God all things are possible," into a basket.
Right, that symbolic release leads to real mental relief.
Peale concludes with a 10-point worry-breaking formula. Key steps include recognizing worry as a habit, practicing faith, affirming "I believe" aloud, using the Lord's Hands prayer to surrender problems, talking positively, living one day at a time, and living in companionship with a higher power. Concrete daily steps.
Now, let's explore the power to solve personal problems from Chapter 10. Peale begins with the encouraging idea that this power is inherent within you.
Already inside us.
Not something external we need to find, but an innate capacity to activate.
He shares the detailed account of Bill, bypassed for a corporate presidency. Bill's wife and Peale used well-defined spiritually scientific principles, collective prayer, putting the problem in God's hands.
And what happened?
Bill ultimately attained the presidency in an even better circumstance than he had initially sought, showing how a spiritual approach can lead to superior solutions.
What's truly fascinating here is Peale's concept of taking God on as a business partner. He tells the powerful story of a businessman facing imminent financial ruin.
Took God as a partner. How?
Initially skeptical, he decided, out of desperation, to do it. This merger with God involved daily man-to-man talk prayers, candidly discussing his business problems.
And did it work?
From this partnership, an innovative, God-guided idea popped up, like toast popping up in a toaster, saving his business, divine guidance leading to practical solutions.
This phenomenon also relates to what an executive Peale quotes theorized as activating emergency powers. This executive believed humans possess dormant extra powers which, cultivated through faith, can be tapped daily.
Not just in crises.
Right. Explaining why some people seem more resilient and capable, they habitually draw upon these deeper reserves.
Peale then reiterates the absolute power of mustard seed faith, citing Matthew 17:20. Faith as a grain of mustard seed moving mountains.
He takes this literally, doesn't he?
Yes. Asserting such faith can solve any of your problems, all of your problems, presented as a precise spiritual law.
The most inspiring narrative here is Maurice and Mary Alice Flint. Maurice was a complete failure, consumed by negativism.
What changed him?
Hearing Peale's message about mustard seed faith, he took it literally, using an actual mustard seed as a constant reminder. This tangible act helped him break free from negativism.
He went on to build a hugely successful business manufacturing mustard seed remembrancers, jewelry with a real mustard seed inside, showing how faith can rebuild lives and businesses.
And crucially, Peale concludes by emphasizing systematic problem solving, having a clear plan, and consistently using the 4 core techniques: faith, positive thinking, prayer, and practical application, a deliberate strategy.
Let's transition now to holistic well-being and relationships, beginning with how to use faith in healing from chapter 11. Peel acknowledges a growing recognition even then that faith is an important factor in health.
Even among doctors.
He cites the surgeon Dr. Hans Finster, who believed an unseen hand of God contributed to surgical success, acknowledging forces beyond conventional understanding.
A specific case illustrates this. A man whose physical condition began improving as he read the Bible, found consolation, and became more hopeful.
So faith boosted the medical treatment.
Exactly. Faith as a powerful plus factor, working with medical skill. A holistic approach.
What's insightful is Peel's observation that religion historically engaged in healing. Modern medicine's recognition of psychosomatic factors aligns with this.
Mind-body connection.
He notes holiness linked to wholeness,
Yeah.
meditation to medication,
Yeah.
ancient wisdom embedded in the words.
A powerful example is the man whose chronic throat condition cleared up only after he gave up his hate and developed a feeling of forgiveness.
Releasing toxic emotions led to physical healing.
This conviction is echoed by physicians. Peel quotes doctors saying 60% of the people are sick because they are maladjusted in their minds and in their souls, highlighting the need for doctor-minister alliances.
He also shares the personal journey of a female physician who found release from her own tension and fears by practicing Christian principles.
And this helped her patients.
Yes, once she experienced this personal antibiotic of faith, she could better connect with and help her neurotic patients on a deeper level.
Peel then provides 8 constructive actions for illness, like avoiding panic, remembering both natural and spiritual remedies, maintaining family harmony, visualizing health, and asking God for healing with gratitude, a proactive, hopeful framework.
Moving to when vitality sags, try this health. Peel reiterates how negative emotions like resentment, hate, grudge act as emotional impediments, manifesting as ill health.
Emotional poisons, draining energy, lowering resistance.
A poignant term he shares is a physician's observation of a patient dying of grudgitis, linking long-held hatred directly to physical deterioration.
Grudgitis.
Yeah.
Chilling. Holding on to hate literally kills you.
The direct effect of mental pain on physical conditions is detailed further. Mrs. X's eczema linked to a family dispute over a will, a young woman's rheumatoid arthritis tied to her father's insistence on an unwanted marriage.
Unresolved emotional conflict causing serious physical ailments.
Dr. Fowler's observations on emotional colds in children are also insightful. Recurring infections linked to insecurity from broken homes, jealousy, or parental conflict. Emotional distress weakening physical resistance.
So, what's the antidote to anger, irritation, hate? Peel offers practical techniques. Oppose heat with coolness. Physically relax. Lower your voice. Tell yourself, don't be a fool. List irritations and pray over them. Ask, is this worth it? Write a forgive letter, even if unsent. Practice forgiving 70 times 7 and allow a higher power control.
Concrete steps to manage destructive emotions. This leads back to William James's wisdom. Human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind.
Change your thoughts, change your life.
Exactly. Flesh out old, tired, worn-out thoughts and replace them with fresh, new, creative thoughts of faith, love, and goodness. Remake your life from the inside out.
Now, let's turn to relationships. How to get people to like you from Chapter 15. Peel explains being sought after or needed is crucial for psychological well-being, for becoming a fully released person.
Connection is vital.
The lone wolf suffers immense misery, he says.
He highlights the serious impact of the unwanted child syndrome, where believing one is unwanted leads to inferiority, shyness. The cure, a spiritual revamping to release insecurities and embrace worth.
And it's crucial, Peel emphasizes, to distinguish between putting on an act for superficial popularity and genuinely cultivating authentic connection. True likability stems from sincere qualities, not forced behavior.
Authenticity is key. So what are those key traits? First, be a comfortable person, easygoing, natural, genial. People feel at ease.
Like an old shoe?
Young people described a liked boy. He's good company. He's a good sport. He's easy to be with. Simple but profound.
Another crucial trait. Remember names. James A. Farley was legendary for this. Peel tells how Farley remembered a hotel maid's name months later. It shows genuine interest, makes people feel valued.
Peel also addresses overcoming self-centeredness. A man struggled because he was decidedly self-centered, only liking himself. The cure, learning to love other people and to forget himself. A total internal reversal.
Interestingly, he suggests a unique method for conquering irritation towards others. Make exhaustive lists of everything he could possibly admire about each person who annoyed him.
Actively look for the good.
Yes. It led to surprising discoveries of pleasing qualities and often mutual affection. By consciously looking for the good, you find it, and others see good in you.
A critical principle. Consistently build others up. Don't deflate them. He gives the negative example of dismissing someone's joke. Instead, emulate figures like Dr. John W. Hoffman, who consistently built up students by recognizing their potential.
Leaving a lifelong positive impact. Peale sums up with 10 practical rules for esteem, like remembering names, being comfortable, avoiding self-centeredness, being appreciative, not criticizing, practicing thoughtfulness, thinking good thoughts in others, developing interest in people, being happy for others, giving people an uplift, concrete pathways to connection.
Let's conclude by embracing life's fullness, even its end, starting with Use Your Heart to Get Over Heartache from Chapter 16. Peale acknowledges healthy grief, like crying, is a normal release.
But it has limits.
Exactly. He cautions against allowing it to become excessive or habitual, leading to abnormal grief, or worse.
A common mistake, he notes, is avoiding places and friends associated with a lost loved one. Peale argues returning to usual pursuits is important to prevent abnormal grief. Normal sorrow allows gradual re-engagement.
The deeper remedy, he explains, is curative comfort supplied by trust in God, achieved by persistently emptying the mind and heart to Him, cultivating a familiar, humble, and loving converse with God. Continuous spiritual connection brings solace.
Peale then shares his own unshakable belief in the continuation of life after that which we call death. He views life as indivisible, no true death, only a change in form, based on the Bible and reinforced by parapsychology insights.
He focuses on 1 Corinthians 2.9. Eye has not seen nor ear heard the things which God hath prepared for them that love Him, applying this to present and future existence, suggesting astonishing marvels await.
What's truly compelling are the anecdotes of near-death experiences as evidence of continuity. Eleanor, the dying girl, calling out her cousin Ruth's name, unaware Ruth had just died. Mrs. Sage seeing her deceased husband Will, smiling.
There's also Mr. H.B. Clark, the pragmatic engineer, seeing beautiful lights and kind faces, losing his fear of death. And Thomas Edison's last words, "It is beautiful over there." Peale presents this as factual evidence from an empirical mind.
Peale even interprets Jesus' appearances post-crucifixion as symbolic of life's indestructibility. You see me and then you do not see me. It means out of sight isn't out of life.
This became deeply personal for Peale during his own grief. Visiting his mother's grave, feeling sad, then seeming to hear her voice, "Why seek ye the living among the dead?" It shifted his perspective from gloom to knowing she was still with him in spirit.
So the ultimate prescription for heartache, Peale concludes, is this faith a sound, substantial, and rational view of life and eternity, providing comfort and a hopeful perspective.
Finally, let's explore how to draw upon that higher power from Chapter 17, a powerful capstone. He recounts his own useful struggle with overstrain in ministry. Professor Tilrow taught him to wait upon the Lord, Isaiah 40, and relax to renew strength, a cornerstone lesson for Peale.
Peale notes that some, even facing crises like heart attacks, can be too sophisticated to adopt the simple trust needed for faith to help. Intellect becoming a barrier. Humility is key.
The incredibly vivid story of an alcoholic's miraculous recovery illustrates this higher power. Planning a triple murder, stopped by encountering his transformed, sober friend Carl, an AA member.
What happened next?
His desperate prayer running past bars, profound rebirth at an AA meeting, leading to instant permanent sobriety despite huge problems, a dramatic intervention.
Another striking example, Charles, another alcoholic, finding instant sobriety after simply dropping his business card through the church mail slot. A tremendous wave of peace came over him. Symbolic action, immediate impact.
And what's crucial, Peale reiterates, is universal applicability. This higher power is continually present and available. He firmly states, there is no problem, difficulty, or defeat that you cannot solve or overcome by faith, positive thinking, and prayer to God. The techniques work for anyone willing to apply them.
So as we recap our journey through Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking, we've explored a profound blueprint for a victorious life. Practical techniques for self-belief, inner peace, energy, problem-solving, relationships, and a hopeful perspective.
From conquering inferiority to breaking the worry habit, healing body and mind, understanding life's continuity, it's presented as a tangible path to fulfillment.
Remember, this deep dive is just a starting point. As Peale himself strongly states, reading is not enough. The true power comes from diligently practicing these techniques.
Practice is key.
They've been tested in the laboratory of spiritual experience. They work when worked. It's about active, consistent engagement.
As you reflect on the stories and techniques shared today, consider this. If you were to choose just one principle, maybe expect the best and get it, or stop fuming and fretting, or try prayer power and commit to practicing it consistently for the next 30 days, what unexpected new doors might open in your own life?
What shift might you experience? It's a powerful question to ponder.
We truly hope this deep dive has provided you with valuable insights and inspiration. We are all fellow students in this journey of self-improvement and spiritual discovery. Keep believing, keep practicing, and keep reaching for that amazing, victorious life that genuinely awaits you.